Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Berchtold, if I could just start with you. Your company is currently under a consent decree with the Justice Department. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Running through 2025, is that right?
Yes, Senator.
This is because the Justice Department says that your company repeatedly conditioned and threatened to condition Live Nation's provision of live concerts on a venue's purchase of Ticketmaster's ticketing services. Is that correct?
The Department of Justice alleged there were 6 instances in 2019 that they thought were violations. We agreed to extend the decree rather than to debate it in court because we had no interest in being perceived as defending the notion of threatening or retaliating.
Yeah, well, kind of extraordinary to have a consent decree running for such a long period of time and have you not even fight it in court. Let's talk about what your company is doing to try to control the resale market. You've been pushing something called SafeTix, which, as I understand it, it's a digital ticketing system. You need your phone for it, right? There's an app. It generates a barcode that then regenerates every few seconds. You can't print it off. You've got to use the app for it. Is that basically correct? Do I have the basics right there?
Yes, Senator. One of the major investments we've made over the past decade has been shifting ticketing from a paper ticket or a PDF to a on-the-phone digital ticket as a major issue towards security and to eliminate fraud.
Yeah, so I want to come back to that, but just so I understand the way the system works. So once you've got the app, then somebody who's got a ticket on the app can digitally transfer that ticket to another app user, but they can't print it off and resell the ticket on StubHub, for instance. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator. They cannot print it off because the notion of printing it would open susceptibility to fraud and duplication of that ticket.
So you could only, let me just be clear about the way this works. You could only resell it through the Ticketmaster ecosystem. Is that right?
No, Senator. Those tickets are often resold on StubHub, SeatGeek, and other secondary ticketing platforms. Okay.
So let me just ask you about the counterfeiting question here. I mean, what kind of scale are we talking about here? I mean, what percentage of tickets sold in the secondary market do you think are counterfeited?
Well, I think that in today's digital ticket, the counterfeit ticket has been all but eliminated. We still have a large issue with speculative tickets being sold where the seller doesn't actually own the right to the ticket but is selling it to the fan who's unaware of that. But the old issue of having a PDF photocopied multiple times and resold has been eliminated.
How does the resale of the SafeTix, how does that resale with another entity, let's say StubHub, just for illustrative purposes, how does that work? How can I, if I had a SafeTix ticket, how could I resell it on StubHub?
You could list your ticket on StubHub. There would be a buyer. The buyer would buy the ticket. You would transfer that ticket to the recipient's Ticketmaster account if it were a concert, if it were an NFL ticket, to their StubHub account.
Do you have any plans to restrict the resaleability of digital tickets through third-party entities like StubHub or others?
We have no plans to restrict that transferability. We do believe that the artist should have the right to set the rules, as we were discussing earlier, in terms of the nature of the transferability. We believe there should be no difference between the rules that we, Ticketmaster, follow and what any of the other platforms can do.
So let me just ask you about the transferability question. Why is it good for consumers to limit transferability? Why, I heard your exchange with Senator Kennedy. I don't understand why it's a good thing for the ticket buyer to not be able to resell her tickets or his tickets.
Senator, I think that tickets in concerts in particular are a unique animal in that those tickets are often underpriced by the artists because they want to deliver value to the fans. And that creates the opportunity, a $5 billion a year opportunity in the United States, for the industrial scalping of tickets using bots to unfairly gain possession of those tickets, illegally gain possession of those tickets, and resell them on the secondary. So the transferability comes into play as part of the discussion, or this comes into the discussion on transferability, given that illegal activity that is enabled by ease of transfer.
But are there other examples of markets, ticket markets, where we limit transferability in that way?
Senator, I'm not aware of other markets where you have such a substantial freeage in the value.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can't do it obviously with movie tickets. Let's say. I mean, those are freely transferable. I just worry about the effect on consumers and prices. If you tell a consumer who buys her ticket that she can't then turn around and sell it, I mean, you talk about a market intervention, that's a pretty significant one. I understand why the artists would like it. I certainly understand why you would like it. It's not clear to me why it's good for consumers.
Yes, Senator, I think we believe it's good for consumers because it would mean that the consumers could buy all of those tickets rather than having what is often 20 to 30% of concert tickets purchased by scalpers using bots and put on the secondary market directly.
Let me just, Madam Chair, I know I'm over time and Senator Cruz wants to ask questions. Let me just really quickly here ask Ms. Bradish if I could. I want to come back to this consent decree extension that's now running out through 2025. What DOJ alleged in 2020 was pretty significant. They said that there had been violation of the earlier consent decree, that Live Nation had retaliated. They'd violated the plain language of the decree. It's not normal, is it, for antitrust consent decrees to get extended like this after violations are identified? Am I correct?
That's correct.
So what do you think's going on here?
Well, I think it certainly shows that the problem that they anticipated in 2010 has come to pass in 2020. It means that Ticketmaster Live Nation is a monopolist whose conduct needs to be supervised. I don't think that this changes their incentives, so it makes it very difficult in the long run for DOJ to actually supervise it.
You don't think it changes Live Nation's incentives?
Right.
Saying.
I mean, their incentives are still to bully.
Right. What should happen then, in your view?
A structural remedy. There should be a spinoff. There should be disintegration of the vertical integration.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.